Hey, besties, welcome to another edition of the Bestie Advice. I am your host, I'm your girl, Irene, with my bestie, Karan. Hey, girl, hey.
Irene, hey, besties out there. Good to see you all, or rather, hopefully you can hear us and see us at the same time.
Yes. Yes, you should definitely be listening to us on iTunes as well as Spotify. But we are so excited about season 6, Love and Marriage. And we have another amazing couple to talk to today that you all can glean from today. And our first guest I'm going to introduce, Miss Shanna, is not a stranger to the Bestie Advice. We had her in our first season, and then we had her back in our fourth season. So she is not a stranger, but we're going to clock some tea. She was single when she was with us before. And God is so good and gracious towards her and us that now she is back on Love and Marriage, season 6,
Yes.
with a man, Mario Gaines. So we want to welcome you for the first time. And so, what I want to do is just kind of give you guys a little bit about the couple. Just a couple after my own heart. I love the entrepreneurial spirit, and both of them are entrepreneurs in their own right. We have brother Mario Gaines. He's the owner of Gaines Property, which is an HVAC heating and cooling company. So, we're going to make sure we have all his information so all of you
Yes.
guys out there can check him out. And then we also have Miss Shayna Gaines. Her business is Catalyst Consultant Business and Coaching. And so I do know that she does business coaching. So we're going to have all of her information so that you can check her out. And so we're just excited, Kiran and I, to talk to them today because me and Kiran be thinking of the old song, like Second Time Around.
Second time around.
Yes. So
Yes.
they both are doing it a second time around. And so we're going to talk to them all about, how they met, what their journey looks like, and hopefully they can spill a little bit of tea with us besties. Okay. So let me kick it off with our first question that either one of you can answer, both of you can answer. It's like a two-part question. You can let me know or let our audience know, how long have you all been married and where did you all meet?
Okay, so first I want to say thank you guys for having us on you guys' podcast. We love what you guys are doing.
Yeah.
So we've been married for a year, a little bit, year and a couple months, and a couple weeks.
Yeah.
Okay, a couple weeks. Yeah.
Uh-oh.
But we met. I've been knowing Shayna at church since Journey, her daughter, was a baby. So she's 9 now. So I've been knowing her 9 years, not personally, but just as a sister at church. We just having like, hey, how you doing, sister? So I knew of her, but I did not know
Yeah.
her in person.
Yes.
Okay.
Journey, I think when Mario came to our church, Journey was about a year old. And so it was funny because they had their own relationship. We see each other every single week. We served together. And again, he was the brother at the time he was married. So both of us was actually married. So
Mhm.
both there with our families, we were husbands, wives, and just doing, family serving together, still in that capacity. And then
Yeah.
I'm sure we'll get to, I won't go to jump too far, but that's pretty much to sum it up. Like, yeah, that's how we met.
Okay. Wow. You had something else to say, Irene?
No, I was gonna say, Kiran, girl, let's get to their journey. I want to hear the tea. Tell me what happened. When was he not brother and you wasn't sister and
Yes.
y'all was dating? Like, I need to know. Like, all
Yes.
right.
Let's go there. Let's hear that
Yes.
part. Let's jump right to it.
And y'all gonna jump right to the tea. I know we actually have both went through a divorce. Mario went through a divorce prior to I, going through divorce. So he was at the church. We were supporting him as a single man going through divorce. I was still married. Eventually, I went through a separation. Now, most people, my covering, Lady K, pastor, they knew about that transition, but it wasn't something that I kind of broadcast or led with,
Yeah.
just, for respect purposes, still having a young daughter, and just wanted to make sure she was covered, and, still wanted to lead correctly, wanted to show up right, wanted to heal.
Yeah.
I believe as I went through a divorce, went through separation, went through divorce, and just one day I'll never forget, I was standing outside, me and Jasmine was actually talking. We were just, as our usual, catch up, check in. And Mario walked up to us and tapped me on the shoulder, and he was like, can I talk to you? So I'm like, okay, thinking that this is just another interaction that we would normally have. And he was like, sis, I think you're beautiful. You should let me take you out. And so I looked, and I'm like, you can't take me out. You're my brother, because in my mind, he was the guy women in the church would say, oh, he handsome. He looked good. Would you, put me on him or things of that nature? And I've always spoke highly of him, seeing him serve, the man that he was or is. It was, just a testament. I never looked at him though as being in a relationship with him.
Yeah.
So I was like, you my brother. And I immediately called my best friend and my sister. And it was like, girl, that is your brother in Christ. That is not your brother,
She almost missed her beat. She almost missed her beat.
We didn't want you to miss your blessing, baby.
Yeah, because when I approached her and because I didn't really know her situation. And so, I was talking to my sister, I had to get the tea, like, hey, what's going on, so she's like, brother, she divorced. I said, huh? I said, oh, okay. So I didn't know, like she said, Pastor knew about it, maybe First Lady did, but I did not know. And so when I approached her, I said, hey, can I talk to you for a minute, this and that? And then she was like, that is nice, but you're my brother. So I'm like, brother. And so that's when I said, when I left, I left, and then, but we had each other number. And so I was like, okay. So I had talked to my sister. So I told her what happened. I'm like, man, sister, she was talking about I'm her brother. I said, but that's on her. She missed her opportunity. And then I want to say later on that night, I received a text message from her saying, hey, I'm open to us, going out. And ever since then, we went out. That was a Sunday. I think we ended up going out the Monday or Tuesday.
Oh,
yeah.
That was quick. You changed your mind quick.
Yeah, real quick.
Yeah.
God touched the Holy Spirit.
Wisdom. Hey, Shanna, don't miss your beat now.
Right. Yeah. And we've been together ever since. It was a smooth transition. We wanted to keep things private amongst ourselves. Yeah. So we were in prayer because I think service together was there was pros and cons. The pro was definitely, I was able to be a testament of who he was in action, not just by words. I was also able to see, like Pastor and First Lady spoke highly of him. He served with Pastor as well. So that talked about his character, his consistency, how he just take care of our church member. Like that was just who he was outside of, other things. And so my concern was, would we be able to connect outside of, we've served and we've been actually, but being able to connect, be friends and things of that nature. And when we found out that we had so much in common, and it was just an easy transition, easy connection, and it kept on from there.
Wow. I love it. Look, besties out there, I hope you all have started taking notes. I can attest to Shanna and Mario. These are two beautiful, God-fearing people. And Brother Mario, yes, he is everything that Shanna has said. And Shanna, look, we cover Shanna. We love Shanna. We ain't gonna let nobody come through across Shanna that we have not given the approval for. And they did do it very respectfully. Majority of the people, I'm probably going to say probably two people knew. So I did like the fact is that they kept their relationship not a secret, but they covered their relationship. And that's something sometimes we have to do, especially you all who may be dating in church, or if you're dating at your job, whatever it is. Everybody and their mama do not have to know about who you're with, who you're going out with. That's not their business. So make sure that you are mindful of who you share your relationships with. You want to make sure that they are covered, and again, that the right people are being in prayer and the right people are covering you all during that dating season. But I do want to ask you all, since the both of you all were previously married, and you're back on the dating scene. We're going to go back a little bit. You're back on the dating scene. You have committed to going out with one another. You're hanging out. Hey, it's cool. We're going to the movies. We're going bowling, whatever. And now things are starting to get serious. So were there like any hesitations or any fears that you all may have had, where now the relationship is transitioning, where it's getting a little bit more serious and it may start going down that road of marriage? Was there any hesitations there?
Yes, I'll speak first. The hesitation was if we decided that this was not for us, or God did
Yeah.
not this for us, we didn't want our church family, because it's still our family, right? This is a place where
Yes.
this is a sacred place for us individually. We have
Yes.
relationships, we have covenant, and so therefore we didn't want that to ruin our relationships that we have within the church.
Yes.
Like, if it would be easier for us to walk out and back out within amongst ourselves than having to go back and say, hey, what once was is not, we're okay. We didn't want to have to do that. So we wanted to make sure that we were on the same page in covenant, as far as this is something we are connecting to. We're decided to go in this direction and we are confident in that.
Yes.
And so it wasn't until I think we actually feel connection and then decided that we wanted to take the journey toward marriage, where and I think even at that point, we may have been in premarital counseling even at that time as well, before we opened it up to the public outside of those that were covering us, of, okay, this is the direction, this is what we're doing. And so I think it made things easier for us. We didn't have like outside influence. We were able to just be like, we were on the same page, understood and was able to cover one another, and we just allowed things to journey from there.
Right, like she said, the only hesitation that it was that we both know we was a part of the same church family, and we wanted to keep everything private. We didn't use our voices and stuff, and it was kind of like, for me, the second time around, because before that, I had been dating and everything, and I kind of had gave up. I'm kind of like, God, I'm cool, because when I'm running into it's like, this not it. Like, I was like,
say this for the birds.
If I just got to be a servant and be by myself, I had got to that point. And so, as we went out and we were dating and everything, and that was the only hesitation that we pretty much had, to say, hey, we want to make sure that this is something that we want to do. Because one thing we didn't want to do is to say, hey, y'all, we dating, and then it goes left or it goes right. So it was very important for us to kind of keep it hush hush. I think Pastor knew about it when we got to that point, and he didn't even know. He was like, "What?" I'm like, So, but that was the only, I would say, hesitation part.
That basically you all wanted to make sure that you were 100% sure prior to letting, because it's, when you all think about it, when it comes to dating, you all are older. You're not babies. You're not seasoned either, seasoned as in age. But at the same time, everybody, you ain't trying to be out there just dating just to be dating. What we doing here? So we're dating for purpose.
Exactly.
So you wanted to make sure that, okay, this is the real deal right here, because we ain't got time to be bouncing around. I love it. I love it.
Yeah, I liked hearing you talk about, I think, Shanna, you said it. I do think where you worship is very sacred. And so I do like that you all were very respectful when you were dating, and you guys weren't, I don't want to say disrespectful, but sometimes dating, people can do a little bit too much in church. So I like that you kept it private, close to the vest, while you guys were dating. So thinking about, this is a second marriage for, both of you. And I just want to know that, did you have any type of hesitation going into a second marriage? Like, what does that look like? Did you have fear, or did you have a different revelation? Like, okay, I'm not fearful. This is God's doing. Like, how are you feeling going into a second marriage? I guess I should really direct this towards you, Mario, because you proposed.
Mhm.
What made this? I know Shayna is very sweet and unique, and a God-fearing woman. But how did you know? Like, nope, this is the one right here. Did you have any fear? Did you get any revelation? What made you want to take that next step?
So
That's good.
I'll be honest. After my first marriage, I said I didn't want to get married.
Mm.
I said I'd never do it again. And I had to go through the healing process, but I had good brothers and sisters around me. My mom always would tell me, "No, you're going to get married."
Yeah,
And so I had to do work on myself, go through
that's good.
therapy, spending time with, spend a lot of time with pastor, wise councilmen around me, and then actually spending more one-on-one time with God. And
Yeah,
so what ended up happening was I got tired of dating.
Yes.
When I got ready to say, okay, I want to step back outside. I want to date with a purpose.
yeah,
I had got tired of, you know, everybody have their own agenda. And it's hard for a Christian man, a man of God, because sometimes a woman will play off of that,
yeah,
and they're not really a woman of God. They can know a couple of scriptures and everything, but their
yeah,
walk doesn't really line up. And so
yeah,
what happened, I got to the point and I said, you know what? I don't even want to, I'm just gonna chill out. And
yeah,
so I prayed to God. I said, God, we always pray and say, God, I want, this type of woman, whatever your preference may be. And I say, God, connect me with my wife that you have for me. That was my prayer that I had with God. I will always pray, say, God, whatever my preference, whatever was my type. But this
yeah,
time I say, God, connect me with the wife that you have for me. That was my
Yeah.
prayer.
yeah, yeah,
And then I want to say, I think my mom had went out with Shanna and the other ladies at church. They just went out for like lunch or brunch. And so my mom was talking and she was like, Shayna say she cook and this and that. And I'm like, So, but I shared this with Shayna that I had a dream. She was in my dream.
mm,
And it was a dream that God showed me and her. But I didn't really know what it meant.
mm,
I'm like, okay, that's my sister, but I really don't know what this means. And
yeah,
so I prayed. I said, God, well, what is this? And this happened before that I had actually approached her. So when I said she almost missed her beat, I'm like, now, God, I did what you told me to do, and she shot me down.
yeah,
And so it was funny because when she did call me back, like she said, when we started from our first date, everything just kind of like just took off, just took off, just took off.
mm-hmm,
But it was how I knew she was the one was that while we was dating, we was talking on the phone for 2 or 3 hours. And people don't do that. But we were talking
mm-hmm,
2 or 3 hours, but we was talking about the word, like really talking about the word, talking about the Bible, talking about the purpose, our purpose, what we want out of life and everything. And everything that she was saying was like what I want in a wife.
yeah,
And it was the fact that how she loved me, how she covered me. And I was telling her I was just telling her the raw truth about me. And she still covered me and she still loved on me. And I'm like, wow, I had not experienced that. And
yeah,
so it was funny. We was just going to look at rings. Now let me bag it up. Before we was looking at rings, we was looking at venues because we was talking about, getting married and this and that. Because we both had said we wanted to get married again.
yeah,
And all of a sudden, while we're talking, the venue pop up of a wedding place, like to have weddings. And she
mhm,
sent it to me. I'm like, this is strange.
Oh yeah, on the phone.
When we was on the phone
this
talking.
popped up. Yeah.
And so I said, wow, okay, okay. So in my mind, I'm like, all right now, I want to be moving too fast. I'm like, all right, God. I'm like, so I was praying. I said, all right, God, now if we all pray this prayer, like God, if she the one, show
Right.
sign, and he'll give us a sign, but sometimes we don't listen because it may not be what we want to hear. And
yeah,
so we went to go just looking at rings because I wanted to get an idea of what type of ring she liked and everything. And I wanted to see kind of what her head was at too.
Mm-hmm.
We went to go look at the rings and everything. And like everything just fell in place. And I'm like, man, it's too good to be true. I prayed again and I said, you know what? God said, that's your wife. I said, all right, God.
Mm.
I said, okay. And so for me, it was that I heard from God and I was obedient. I could have been in fear and been like, you know, this too fast. Maybe I need to slow down. Maybe I need to take longer and everything. But I listened to God because everything wasn't perfect wise. Like some people, you know, kind of plan everything out. Like, okay, we're gonna date for 2 or 3 years or 4 years, and then I'm gonna propose the following year. But it didn't play like that. It didn't work out that way. So I was just obedient to hearing from God, and then I had to remember the prayer that you prayed to God to continue with my wife that you have for me. And so I remember that. And so it's like when God tells you to do something, you got to do it. You got to act.
Yeah. That's good.
That is. I mean, I definitely love like hearing that you know, ask God and because we know what the word says, you know, he that finds a wife. And so I love the fact that you chased her and you asked God and made sure that she was the choice for you. I do have a question, and I meant to ask this earlier. Shanna, what made you decide to go out with him? Because, you know, he was brother Mario, like, nah, that's my brother. And by nightfall, you was like, nah, he ain't brother, you know. So what was that like? Like from brother to lover? Like what happened?
Yeah. When I was talking to my best friend, and she was like, you know, that's your brother in Christ, but that's not your biological brother. Like you're not doing anything wrong. You know, you allow him to pursue you. And so I began to think about it. I'm like, wait a minute, this is the same guy that I would tell others, you know, like, oh yeah, he's honorable, he's a good man, he looks good, but I'm like, wait a minute, that also stands for me. You know what I'm saying? Like I can get that too, you know, I can have that as well. So I was like, okay, I'm willing to see if we have a connection because connection is big for me. Like if I either feel it, I'm with it or I'm not. I can, you know, fake it. I wanted to make sure that, and I guess romantically that was there, right? Because I think that, you know, and being able to be a best friend. So it's like I need to, and this time around, I need to have a best friend. A better, you know, my better half, someone that that is not a force, that there's we're fluid, we're able to connect with each other. It's easy. And so when I met him and we were able to connect, it's like, oh, okay, I like this. Like it's easy. We vibe, common. But I think it was that. It was giving myself permission to be pursued, even if it didn't look like something I had ever experienced before. Like Mario talked about, you know, there's a difference between like having titles, maybe you know, men of God or being a pastor or a reverend and minister and all of those things versus having a relationship. So I'm like, okay, this is the person I know that has relationship with God. So it was so many different things. The good of who he was outweighed me thinking like, oh, this is my brother in Christ because I've been serving with him. How dare I, you know, allow him to pursue me in that way? And I was like, she was like, do you know how many people meet their husbands in church? And I said, you know what? You're actually right. Now at this time, it was just opening, you know, like being open to the fact and receiving him in that way.
Yeah, and it was funny because when we went on our first date, which was at Uncle Julio, and when we were sitting down and everything, we was just talking and everything. And so I think I said about towards the end of the date, I say, "Do you still look at me as your brother?" I say, "Do you still see me as your brother?" And she was like, "No, I see you look." I said, "Oh, okay. I just want to make sure because if you still see me as your brother, then I know where we at. You know, brothers and sisters. You know, but I wanted to make sure." But you know, it let me know that, and I was just grateful and thankful that she was open. You know, because she had been through her stuff too. You know, it was like new for both of us, and because of the situation that we both was married, we both kind of knew each other's spouse. You know, because we all was at the same church and everything. And so, yeah, so when we went out, she was like, yeah, you know, And so I said, okay, oh, how do you look at me now? And so I said, okay, we good. So now I do like, okay, we can go on the second date.
Yeah.
That was really important to me because I need to know like where if I'm just in the brother zone.
Right. You said, where are we on the same
Right.
page?
Right.
Yeah. I do want to go back to something that you said earlier, Mario, regarding yourself, where you said you was out there in this messy dating pool.
Yeah.
And you saw that it was extra murky out there, and it was seaweed and algae all in there, and you're like, let me get out. But you talked about as far as how you basically had, I'm just paraphrasing, how you needed to kind of get yourself together and get back in touch with God and allowing God to lead you. So I just want to talk about your healing process and the steps that you needed to take, because I do believe that is very important for women and men who are coming out of any type of relationship, whether it was a 2 year, 3 year, 20 year marriage, or if you've been in just a boyfriend girlfriend relationship for years. Sometimes there may have been hurt and disappointment, and you don't want to carry that into the new relationship, but that takes time. Everybody does not use that time wisely. They just go from person to person. So you realize, like, no, I can't go from person to person. I need to do some self-evaluation. So I want to hear from you as a man, like, what did that actually entail in regards to your healing process?
So for me, I had to really like love myself and find out what is it that I enjoy doing. Like
Mhm.
what really makes me happy. Because sometimes you be in a marriage for so long that you go through the motion and you forget about you. And so by me, like, okay, I'm being by myself. I got to start all over again. Let me work on me, right? It's because it's not always, it's so easy for us to point the finger to say, well, she did me wrong, or it was his fault. And it's like, okay, no, let me take some accountability for what
Yeah.
I need to work on. Let me look at myself in the mirror. Because so many times for men, we was taught like to get over a woman is to go get in another relationship. And really, all that is that you just dumping your trauma and bringing your trauma into another relationship. And I knew that
Yes.
I'm gonna do this thing, marriage again, that I have to empty myself and really work on myself because, in any relationship, you have to put a lot into it if you're really for real about it. And I was
Yes.
like, okay, if I'm for real about it, I really have to do the work on myself because
Yes.
I don't have time and all that energy to be wasting my time or to hurt somebody. So, and even when I was dating, and when I thought I was ready, I found out that I really wasn't ready because of something
Mm-hmm.
that I was saying. And I had to apologize to the young lady. And I had to step back and say, okay, I'm not ready. I'm still healing. And so what I had to do was, I spend time with God. I was around men that had been married. Some men had been married again. They was encouraging me. They was talking to me, going through therapy, pulling some things up out of me that some of the stuff was from childhood. Some things like for a man, we was taught to be tough, not to show emotion, not to cry. I didn't see none of that from my father. So some things I didn't know. And
Yeah.
so some of that stuff I was trying to figure out as I go. And so I knew that part that I need to work in that area. I knew that for a fact. And when you're talking about having a spouse, a woman, you have to be in tune with their emotions and with their feelings and everything. And if you're not in tune with your own emotions and your feelings, you cannot
Mm-hmm.
give that to somebody else. So I knew that I had to work on myself because I didn't want to possibly damage a good one.
Yes. That's good. That's good. I love it. Look, thank you for taking that
Thank you.
time.
Thank you.
And you decided you was not gonna go out there and damage not another woman. I love it. Look, besties out there. Let's do some reflecting and some self-evaluation, men and women, because women,
Mhm.
Same.
we be holding on to stuff too when we carry it into that new relationship and we're saying, oh, you just like him, all it takes is that one little thing to trigger you. And it would take you all the way back to 2006, 2016, and we are in 2025. One thing, because you did not fully heal from that. So, Besties, I hope that you are taking good notes here. Make sure that you are taking the time to get healed, to allow God to heal you, to allow God to change you. It's not about jumping back into that next bed or getting that next relationship. Because yeah, we be hot and stuff. We want comfort and we want relationship. Hey, we're human. But you can't do that because you're gonna hurt yourself and somebody else. So yes, I love it. Thank you so much, Mario, for that. Thank you for that. I do have one other question I want to go into. We're going to just kind of shift just a little bit. So with you all, we know that Shayna, you have a daughter, your daughter Journey, Mario. If you can just share with us if you have any children, and then with you all having children, if you have any children, because I don't know if you all have any children, how did you all bring the families together? And then what are some of the blessings and maybe some of the challenges that you all may have had with bringing this blended family together?
So we have a total of 3 girls, you know,
And a dog.
yeah, and a dog.
His name is Jaden.
So I will say that one of the challenges is, so my oldest daughter is 19, and then my oldest daughter is 9. So it's an age difference, right?
Yeah.
So you know, them coming together, you know, they love on each other and they crazy about each other. But two, when you bring in the two families together, the style of how we would discipline our kids, right? Because in one way, and I discipline one way. And so
Yeah.
it's us coming together on one accord, you know, us, you know, like for example, for me and Journey, it took us a while because it was just her and her mother for a long time. And she would tell me like, it's me and my mom. You know, I remember when we used to go out, she come right between us, you know, so it was like, so it was that part there was kind of like a little challenge, but
Yeah.
as we built the relationship and she seen me for the person that I am, I didn't try to sell her on stuff like buy her toys or whatever, or try to drive her. I just
Yeah.
been real to her and we built that relationship. And so it's a beautiful thing. You know, my daughter, she's in college, so we don't see her as much. You know, she may come home from the holidays or whatever, but she kind of doing her own thing. You know, so but for the most part, that's the difference. You know, and so it's like my conversation with Journey is different from my conversation with my oldest.
Yes.
And so, but bringing them together, you know, it's always a good time because they have a similar personality. It's kind of funny
Yes.
because Journey reminded me of Ari when Ari was Journey's age. So it's almost like, you know, deja vu. You know,
Mhm.
oh, y'all do the same thing, almost. You know how y'all think.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's definitely been a beautiful thing. I've been knowing Ari since she was Journey age. Like
Mhm.
her coming to the church with Mario, seeing her grow up. I think when we became serious and Mario kind of was having her guess who he had began to date and who he, you know, pursuing, and she kind of guessed me, and she's like, "Oh yeah, she be praying. I love her. She is cute and she think, you know, all that." And so she's young, so I feel like she having that, right, knowing who I was before we were together, it made things
Yeah.
easier. You know, I'm consistent in who I am. So we had that relationship. I would always check in with her, talk to her when she would come to the church, and that didn't change. I think we have our relationship outside of her and her dad, and I'm intentional about that. You know,
Yeah.
I'm not trying to replace anything or change anything.
Right.
We've been through things. You know, this is your dad's second time around, but this is also your second time around as well.
Mhm.
You've been there with him through each transition. So not trying to be forceful, just being authentic, trying to be genuine, loving her, giving her a safe space to, you know, confide in me, to ask me, or to be there. being consistent with her as well, being intentional with her, trying to have
Yeah.
a relationship with her was important as well. I didn't want her to think that I'm just here or with just for her dad. Like,
Yeah.
so I'm here for you as well. We are family. And yes, things are not perfect. We go through things, even like with my daughter, she's spoiled. You know, she's the only child. It's only been us all her life. And so I think what has helped with the transition is Mario's consistency. So
Yes.
because he's consistent in her life, because he's consistently showing up for her, present, being intentional about having special time with her, moments with her, they have conversations, and you know, she asks them things, they interact, they do things together. It's been
Yeah.
beautiful to see and for her to have that. And she has grown even in that, you know, being able to know what does a husband look like, you know, what does a stepfather
Yeah.
look like, you know. We don't push a lot on titles, but even when she goes to school, she's able to know, okay, wait, this is my stepfather, but I have a father, this is my mom,
Hmm.
you know, even having to go through that so that she understands that she's included, that she's a part of
Yeah.
it. It's not just like, oh, y'all, we doing our thing and then she's off to the side. It's like, no, we're family,
Yeah.
and this is important for us to get through this and try. No, for sure.
Join us next week for part 2. Thanks for joining us today. See you next time.